Hey y'all, it's me again with this voice. Yes, here I am. I hope you guys are well. Happy Thursday. It's almost Friday. It's almost weekend. We're almost there, y'all. Hang in there, huh? Bienvenidos a mi canal. Welcome back, y'all. If you know me, thank you so much for coming back to see a girl. I appreciate you. If you do not recognize this face for this raspy voice, my name is Latrice. Nice to meet you. And this right here is Faith by Latrice, where faith is the muscle we exercise around here. Now let's get on into it. No dilly-dallying. We exercising it because, yes, I'm continuing to talk, even though I sound like this. Anyway, the point. La tema de hoy. The topic for today. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Remember I told y'all we was in a war? Yes, real quick. Let me give you a description. We're going to jump right on into it. This is Genesis 22. And it is 13 to 14. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked. And behold, behind him was a ram, caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the name of that place, the Lord will provide. As it is said to this day, on the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. Abraham called the place, the Lord will provide, a.k.a. Jireh. Now, some of us may have heard that song by Maverick City Music called Jireh. Many of us probably didn't know the origin, or maybe we didn't know the origin of that name, right? And that's where it is. It's Abraham. So basically, long story short, for the people who don't know that story, don't know the Bible, don't worry about it. God told Abraham and Sarah, or Sarai at the time, y'all gonna have a baby. They was like, what? Us? Ha! She laughed. Because they was like in old age. Okay, you get me? They was like 70-something at the time. And so God told them, you're gonna have a baby. And so they didn't believe, they didn't have faith. God said it, and they was like, no. They didn't exercise that muscle of faith. And so what they did, want to skip a few, was they tried to help God with the promise. Because they said, well, Sarah really was like, listen, I'm old in age. My eggs ain't working no more. We're going to have to get this thing rolling, God. If you're going to say I'm going to have a child. I didn't even ask for all this. You told me you was going, ooh. Some of us didn't ask for the promise. God told us something that was going to happen that we didn't even have a want for. But now all of a sudden you told me, and now you're taking too long. So guess what? I'm going to try to help you. That's what Sarah did. She decided to help God. This message right here is a little bit too late for Sarah. But for the person who's about to do something they shouldn't do, don't do it. Don't do it. Where's this coming from? I was thinking to myself recently, self, why does that seem so appealing? You know that would be setting yourself up for failure. Why would you do that? That ain't even the criteria. Top 5, huh? That ain't even the criteria of what it takes to even be in the category of what we need. Speaking of code, but listen. Why does it seem so appealing right now? Why am I even remotely considering it? Why? It's because it's in front of me. We are in a war, and the enemy will place things in front of you that seem similar to the promise that God is going to give you. He's like, here, just take it. It's right here. God's having us wait because he's preparing us. He's preparing the thing. God is not going to rush you into anything. But we feel like it's taking too long sometimes. We feel like we want to help God. And guess what? The enemy will slide on some right in front of you. Or slide somebody in front of you in your DMs, whatever. Maybe it's not a person. Maybe it's a dietary restriction that God's like, no, I'm going to need you to wait on that. Don't eat no sweets. Don't eat no sugar. Don't do none of that for like a month, for like a year, for whatever. Wait on that job. Don't rush and go get this little extra job that you know is going to have you extra tired because you feel like this money ain't coming in fast enough, God. I thought you was going to provide for me. God said, I am going to provide. Take inventory of your life. Have you lacked for anything? David said, I have never, what did he say? I have been young and I am now old, and I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his children begging for bread. David said, I've been young and now I'm old. I never seen God's kids want for anything. Moral of the story. Don't do it. Do not go and try to hustle up something. Do not go and settle and choose that person you know should not be in your life. Don't go eating that food you ain't got no business eating. Because you feel like God's taking too long. It's just here, might as well. No. It's a trap. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a trap from the enemy. Don't do it. God is going to come with something better. I'm going to put the scripture below so you can see what happened. Abraham was going to sacrifice his son. God said, I gave you the promise. Now give it back to me. Because God wanted to see, do you love the thing more that I gave you, or do you love me? Do you want the thing so bad, or do you want God's promise? Do you want God in your life? Because when God gives you his promise, he gives you that protection with it. God, when you go and do stuff out of God's will, you will not have God's protection. It's very simple, very plain. There's a bunch of things in the Bible, a bunch of promises in the Bible. Deuteronomy, in that book right there. Go look it up. God says, you will get this if you do this. I will give you this if you do this. I will give you this. He makes promises clear. I'm going to give you all this stuff. But guess what? There's a caveat. There's a prerequisite. You got to do this. So you can. All right, that's it. Moral of the story, don't do it. Don't do the thing you're thinking of doing right now. Don't do it. You know it's not in God's will. You know God is not going to be happy with that. And you know you're not going to be happy with it. So don't do it. Simple. Es todo. Si nadie te ha dicho hoy, esta day que te estoy hablando a ti mismo ahora, if nobody has told you today, I love you. I love you. And I love me. Because it's in life be lifing, but guess what? We are going to prosper regardless. Bye.